Can you never encounter such a stupid and tragic event as when soldiers in the same army kill each other because of alcohol? Under normal circumstances, a battle takes place when two opposing sides clash with each other, while the Battle of Karansebes constitutes an exception. Welcome to History Bazaar. In this video, we will explain the dumbest battle in history, the Battle of Karánsebes. But first, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. The Ottoman Empire was one of the mightiest and longest-lasting dynasties in world history. The Islamic-run superpower ruled large areas of the Middle East, Eastern Europe, and North Africa for more than 600 years. The chief leader, known as the Sultan, was given absolute religious and political authority over his people. While Western Europeans generally viewed them as a threat, many historians regard the Ottoman Empire as a source of great regional stability and security, as well as important achievements in the arts, science, religion, and culture. After a series of impressive victories in the Great Turkish War, Austria found itself at war with France again along the Grand Alliance. Still, Austria and its allies managed to win impressive victories like Turin and Blenheim. Plus, the Austrians successfully crushed uprisings in Hungary and Bavaria. However, the French victory at Denain secured the Bourbon throne in Spain. Still, the Austrians fought well and enjoyed great territorial gains in the Treaty of Rastatt. In 1716, the Ottomans once again invaded Austria, but the military genius Prince Eugene of Savoy outmarched them in battles of Petrovaradin and Belgrade, expanding Austria to its greatest territorial extent. Meanwhile, the Spanish wanted to recapture their lost territories, but Austria and its allies stopped them. In the 1730s, the skill of Austrian soldiers and generals would temporarily decline. Crushing defeats against the French and Ottomans at Guastalla and Grocka caused the Austrians to lose most of their previously gained territories. Austria's involvement in the war against the Ottomans in 1788 came about as a result of the Habsburgs aligning themselves with the Russian Empire. Facing Ottoman aggression, the Russians were forced into what was deemed to be a defensive war. Compelled by their alliance with the Russians, the Habsburgs joined the fight in 1788, a year after the war was initially declared. After being promised concessions from the Ottomans by the Russians if the war was won, the Austrian emperor threw all of its enemies at the Caliphate. Although the conflict would prove to be a success for the Habsburgs, gaining the port city of Orsova in return for their help during the advance into Ottoman land, the lack of army professionalism in their ranks would start to show through. In September 1788, the 100,000-strong Austrian army advanced through the territory of modern-day Romania, then under the control of the Austrians and Ottomans. By the 21st of September, the army reached Karánsebes with the intention of garrisoning the tactically significant city. Here the events of the Battle of Karánsebes would unfold. The Ottoman-Austrian rivalry includes a great past that goes back to 1526. The last battle of this great rivalry was the Austro-Turkish Wars that took place between 1787 and 1791. While two great empires were fighting great wars under the domination of Eastern Europe, Austria was the protector of the Catholics, and the Turks were the protector of the Muslims. In the last of these wars, while the struggle for sovereignty of Belgrade and the Danube River was fought, an historical event took place in 1788. The Austrian army was the army of the Habsburg Empire. This far-reaching empire resulted in the army having soldiers from different nations, including German, Italian, Polish, Croatian, Hungarian, Roman, Slav. This mixture of people led to some communication issues as the soldiers did not share a common language. Once the army reached Karánsebes on the 21st, they set up camp, planning to rest for the night and continue their march the next day, leaving some troops behind to protect the city. While the infantry started to set up their camp, the army's hussars crossed the Timis River to scout on September 17th and started to scan the region. No Ottomans could be seen. Instead, what the hussars met on the other side of the river was a group of Romani people. The traveling merchants offered to sell the hussars schnapps to these soldiers at a cheap price, an offer which they couldn't refuse. Soldiers started to drink alcohol to relax before the war with the Turks the next day. Later that night, a group of infantry units came to control the cavalry who did not return from scouting. When they saw the cavalrymen drinking and having fun, they wanted to join this party and drink alcohol. However, when the hussars refused, a controversy broke out between the two units, and when one side opened fire, this controversy turned into a conflict. During the battle, some infantrymen shouted, "Tursi, Tursi," meaning Turks in Romanian, to frighten the drunken hussars. Upon this, the cavalry and some infantrymen, who thought that the Turks were coming, fled to the place where the main army was located in panic. After seeing the mass of people approaching in the dark, the undrunk Central Army believed that the approaching soldiers were Turks and opened fire on them. When this fire was opened from the center, the drunken forces also thought that the center was occupied by the Turks, and this time they opened fire on the Central Army. It wasn't over. Then the artillery unit waiting on the hill thought the Turks were coming and fired on the area. Finally, when some commanders realized that they had made a huge mistake, they shouted to the army, "Halt! Halt!" in German, which means "Stop! Stop!" in English. However, this was understood as Allah by the soldiers who did not know the language. The soldiers thought that they were Turks shouting Allah as their battle cry. During the chaotic withdrawal, the Austrian soldiers shot at the other Austrian soldiers, believing that they were surrounded by the Turkish army. According to claims made by the historian Paul Bernard, 10,000 Austrians died or were injured as a result of this incident. In the morning after everything had happened, the surviving Austrians realized what a mistake they had made. The army was almost destroyed by friendly fire. Moreover, during the retreat, the Austrian Emperor Archduke Joseph II was injured by falling from his horse while crossing a small river with his horse. The panic was so bad that Joseph II was pushed into a creek by those fleeing, nearly killing him. Two days after the incident, when the true Turks, led by Koca Yusuf Pasha, came to the Karánsebes region, they seized the region without encountering any defense and found 150 dead and 1,200 wounded soldiers in the region. Claims on the real numbers of deaths that this event created are still disputed to this day. Some sources claim that only between 100 to 1,000 soldiers were actually lost during the pandemonium. Other sources, such as the author of Joseph II's biography, gives us a different view of the events. With no detailed records found to this day, it is hard to really determine how many died during the events of the Battle of Karansebes. With no opposition, the Turks captured the city, killing the rest of the wounded Austrians who weren't able to escape. After this battle, which deserved to be the dumbest battle in history, the Ottomans achieved a certain dominance on the Danube River, and the battles between the two empires continued until the peace treaty in 1792. Realizing the impact of the French Revolution on his country, Joseph II reached an agreement with the Ottomans in 1792 and withdrew from the occupied areas. After fighting for 250 years, these two empires never fought again. We hope you enjoyed another episode of History Bazaar. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the fastest growing history channel on YouTube.